right, good afternoon. We'll go ahead and get started. Before we do, I want to give a quick shout out to the Arizona Diamondbacks and Torey Luvolo and his team. We have a good relationship. He's a big member of the Bills Mafia, and I had a chance to visit with them, with his team, I think it was March maybe, when we were out there for the owners' meetings. Quite an accomplishment. That's one. And then two, Sabres start tonight, so excited to watch them and Coach Granado and Kevin's team and what they've put together and getting out there on the ice. I told them I'd be out there guest driving the Zamboni in between periods tonight if I get off in time. But anyway, I'm just happy for them and excited for them. Anyway, I'm sure you want an injury report. I've got it for you. Dane Jackson will not practice. Deion Dawkins, dealing with a personal matter, will not practice. The rest will practice. Some will be limited.
Been a Zamboni before?
No, and I'm just kidding.
I know.
Yeah.
We all want to follow up on that.
Everyone's going to be there. I'm sure it's going to be a great crowd, great environment, and I'm excited for the Sabres, excited for the work that they've put in, the team they've put together, and I'm not going to be there, but I wish I could, and so it'd be pretty cool to kind of just be out there driving the Zamboni in between periods, right? One day.
You fixed up the schedule last year. Just what we're going to walk through. What did you get out of that, and what was the reason behind that?
Yeah, I mean, just trying to get the guys back, coming off the trip, and defense played, I think, close to 90 plays last week, and which is about, 30 plus, a little over 30 more than average. So just wanted to get these guys back, coming off of the travel schedule that we've been on here, and freshen them up a little bit.
Sean, Josh talked yesterday about Stefon. There was a video where he had some frustration during the game with the tablet, and he was speaking of Josh, was pretty impassioned about Steph being maybe a little bit misunderstood. Do you see that in Stefon and maybe in his leadership of this team?
I do. I think, quite honestly, a lot of people are misunderstood. Some of what's seen on or written about, even to some extent, is not, perception isn't always reality, is the bottom line, right, in this case. So, he's a heck of a competitor, and he is one of the best leaders that we have on game day, from an energy standpoint, from a competitive edge standpoint. I would echo Josh's statement, or statements that he made yesterday, I believe it was, about Steph. There's nobody better in terms of his approach to the game.
Does it bother you maybe a little bit when there's a narrative about a player that maybe in your mind is mistaken? And building off of that, have you seen Stefon grow as a leader maybe even this season?
Yes to both. His growth, and that's one of the, as you've heard me say before, one of the great parts about coaching is you can see people develop not only as a player, but also in this case as a leader, as a person. And you meet a player in his first season, and then you're around them 3-4 years later, whether it's Steph or other players, and it's just amazing to watch how they grow and develop. And again, I think that's part of what we're tasked to do as coaches, is to help players develop holistically, not just as players, but credit to Steph and his development on his own too. It's not just been coaching; it's been his development and his intentionality about what he's trying to do.
Kind of to Jay's questions, when Steph between the quarters was out pumping up the defense between drives and stuff. When you see him doing something like that, like what does that say about him to you?
Again, I just think that he wants to win, right? And unfortunately, a lot of times, and for some reason, on some teams at least, there's offense has their silo, defense has their silo, and then special teams has their own silo, and that's not a healthy dynamic. And Steph does a great job of crossing over from offense to defense in this case, and to special teams. And I mean, he'll even come up to me during the game and say, "Hey, what do you need? What can I do?" And that's pretty self-aware and unique. So, yeah, I think it's a good thing.
Anything you tell him, like that he can, like, are there things he can do, like to?
Right. I mean, just like any player, hey, I think this player needs a little bit of love. Go bump into this player. Hey, we need to keep the ball. We need to, hey, if it's a 4-minute drive, hey, challenge the offensive line. Just things like that you'd normally expect to hear, I guess I would say.
What sort of development have you seen from Jamarcus Ingram since he got into the building a year ago?
Here's a player undrafted out of UB, and he had played at a couple of schools before that, perhaps as well. And, just very impressed with his football acumen, his feel for the game. No job too small, and yet no job too big. I mean, here's a player that played a lot of snaps in that Miami game early in the season last year for us as an undrafted player. And I think he's done a real nice job, and he's just got that mindset that he wants to continue to improve each and every day.
We've talked about AJ Epinesa a few times throughout the season and about what he does in practice. When did you kind of start to see that carryover from what he's doing in practice, making it to games at the level that it is right now?
Yeah, I would say this year. In the past, it's been probably more inconsistent. You see flashes, then it goes away. And, I think to AJ's credit and the entire D-line, as well as Coach Washington and Coach West, they've really grown closer together, and I think gotten on, not that they weren't on the same page, but just you always, the closer you get, you can kind of, and the more time you spend, you can really dive into, hey, where's the disconnect in terms of the consistency piece. And to this point, AJ has done I don't want to say a 180, but his approach, his consistency has been a big part of our success up front this year.
How do you help players kind of keep that in mind when, if it's something like consistency, there's nothing other than time that can get them there, but how do you keep them kind of staying positive if things aren't clicking exactly at the level they want until they reach the point that he has?
Yeah, that's where you go back, though, and you kind of fact find and you do some research on, hey, what's your process look like, right? What's your preparation look like? How can I help? Some of these young players don't always know, they don't always come in, even though they've been at big programs with, the kind of what, this is what you do and this is when you do it and this is what your Tuesday should look like and this is what your Thursday should look like. And so, a great example of that, I was just sharing a story or conversation with a couple of our staff members and Josh Norman about, hey, you think when you come in because you've been successful, but what it takes at this level is vastly different. In college, most kids go to class and then they do their football, right? And at this level, it's all football, and that means you got to have a really good process.
AJ said last week you were very personal in the confidence you gave him, saying, "We believe in you, AJ." It wasn't just a blanket to the team. How intentional is that for you as a coach and the staff to really tell these guys in an uplifting way that even if it may not be going well at the time, that you're not giving up?
Right. Well, again, I think if you look at any human being, any player, they want to know, if I'm a player, I want to know when I look over there that person, that coach believes in me, because that matters. There's going to be good days and good plays and bad plays, the same. But if you can look over and say, hey, that person believes in me, it's just the same thing with your mom and dad. Hey, you know what, that my dad and my mom might be hard on me, but, and I'm not lecturing here, I'm just saying it's real when you have highs and lows, and you can always look over and say, hey, you know what, I know that person, that coach in this case, believes in me. Maybe it gets you 1 inch closer to being the best you can become.
We talked a lot about playing Dable this week and all of that, but I was curious from your perspective, his role that he had in Josh's development, how do you view that, what he did for Josh in their 4 years working together?
Yeah, I think he did a good job. When in 2018, when we drafted Josh, I think that was Brian's first year also, and that's a process when you draft a young quarterback, and even the process of leading up to the draft. And I think there was good, collaboration between Brian and myself and Brandon and Joe Shane as well. And then, we picked Josh, and that first year is always tough, right? And Josh had some high highs and he faced some adversity as well. And then you come back in 19 and we made a little bit more progress, and then 20 we really started to open it up a little bit. And so I think Brian's been a huge part of that in Josh's development and whatnot.
To know Connor McGovern more since he got here. What's he been like? Connor McGovern. What's he been like getting to know more and more?
Yeah, good guy. Really fits our culture, and listen, he played for Penn State, right? So he's been a good addition to our culture, and just a guy that likes to play football, and pretty down to earth person, right? So that's been a good addition to our offensive line and our team overall.
Sean, you mentioned Diamondbacks and Sabres. How much do you enjoy talking to those coaches from other sports? Do you still gain as much from that as you did earlier in your career?
Yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorite things about the off season, is just a time to kind of try and pick some people that I want to kind of pick their brains and see, kind of what's going on, what got them to where they were, or where they've gotten to in their career, and I've done it too with, speaking of the Diamondbacks, with Doc Roberts as well. So it's a little bit bittersweet, but I'm happy for Torrey. But yeah, it's just I think it's just, man, you can never really settle, right? You can never really I don't even like the word complacent. I don't even like saying it. Like, just always curious, I think. I never used to be like that, but the older I've gotten, the more curious I've gotten about things, and yeah.
How much of the Diamondbacks game did you catch last night? I think they finished after like midnight.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of it. Also caught a little bit of the Phillies game there, and watched the stare. That was awesome. Pretty powerful moment of elite performance by Bryce Harper. I know this is not why we're having this press conference, but I figured I'd add that. It was good to see. I mean, it's like anything else. You pull for people that you know and that are good people, and of course, in this case, Torrey, supporting our team like he does, him and his family, and I think his wife's from like Niagara Falls or so. So it's great to have that connection and to watch him do his thing, and I'm super proud.
Are you surprised at all by how many takeaways your defense has gotten over the last couple of weeks?
It's infectious, right? It's a style of play. You watch our guys fly around, and they play fast and they play hard, and usually when you do that, you're putting some pressure on the opponent to create some of those, or to cause some of those takeaways.
At Milano's linebacker spot, could you envision some level of job share, just because you have young guys who could benefit from seeing some time on the field?
Envision job, like, give me what you're...
Maybe working both Dorian and Dotson and Klein. I realize they're all in the mix,
Yeah.
but maybe just seeing that that the young guys get a few snaps here and there.
Yeah, and that helps. That helps sometimes bring along a young player slowly, right, in bits and pieces, where he can play a little bit, watch a little bit. So we've done that before, and we're open to it again.
Coach, when talking to the defensive line, they say that Eric Washington does a great job of not putting individuals inside of a box and really allowing them to play to their strengths. How do you think that allows the group to reach the highest potential that they can reach?
Yeah, that's I think part of the balance of being a good coach is, hey, this is what we've always done type approach versus, yes, the system is the system, but that said, our job is to is to maximize the strengths that you have and how those strengths can then maximize our system. So I think you got to be flexible and adaptable, and I think Eric's done a good job of doing that.
Sean, a couple of weeks ago, you coached against Ron Rivera, who you learned a lot from. Now you're coaching against Coach David Warren under you. How cool is it for you right now to kind of be able to live both sides of the coin, going up against some people who are your mentors, now going up against people who you've helped mentor yourself?
Well, I was asked, I think, something about that yesterday, and I think it's, you almost don't go a week anymore without going up against someone that you haven't had a history with, which is a good thing, I guess, I guess it speaks to people you've learned from being great mentors and great coaches, and then people who have kind of branched off of our tree now and that have become great coaches and gone off and done their own thing and had success. So I think that's a good thing, and I think it all goes back to really, to me, in my world of the NFL, I mean, you're talking about two coaches and Andy Reid and Bill Belichick who have been doing and have been at this for a long time, right? And basically redefining the NFL. And I know there's been other ones as well in my era, but those are the two, to me. I guess Coach Carroll would be in there as well, and maybe one or two other coaches. But I mean, those guys have been around for so long, and they have a number of, call it lieutenants, who are out there in and around the NFL.